What's up guys, welcome back to a brand new video on Lexalexus. I am so delighted to say that I am back posting content on the channel after a 2 to 3 week hiatus. Apologies guys, I actually missed recording a predictions video, which I didn't think I was going to do this year, but it happened. I was being given like a terrible cold/virus, which took nearly 2 weeks to recover from. Also been nursing a foot injury as well, so naturally, with whatever's working left of me, I'm going to be using that to be making this video for you. So, international break is nearly over, and as of today, Championship football returns tomorrow with a really mouth-watering game, actually, which I can't wait to predict for you guys. Also, I posted an update on the Lexalexus Football Prediction League this year on my latest community post, so do make sure you check that out if you've not seen it yet. If you guys still want to get involved in the prediction league, you can still do so by simply commenting your score predictions in the comments. So guys, when I do my predictions today, I do encourage you to leave your predictions in the comments down below so you can score some points, but it also is a little bit of fun to see our differing opinions in games. If you guys went to enjoy this video today, please smash the like button. It really does help with this channel. Please do hit the subscribe button too, and sharing the channel too. All three of these things are really simple to do, and they really do help this channel. But I can't lie, I can't wait to get started. Without any further ado, let's start predicting week 10 for the championship. This is the mouth-watering game I was referring to. Leeds facing Sheffield United. Certainly two teams backed to potentially get promoted out of the championship, and their form would suggest that both will be up there within the championship come the end of the season. Looking at the form, it is Sheffield United with the stronger form at the moment, especially due to their unbelievable defence. 6 clean sheets in a row is sensational for Sheffield United. They've certainly, I think, have got the most stable squad at this moment in time, and they're just calmly going down their way. And I think I'm trying to ease expectations, but right now they are absolutely cruising. They're second place in the league. They would be first place if they didn't actually have their points deduction as well coming at the start of the season. So essentially we'll see if that 2-point deduction is going to have any sort of impact for Sheffield United come near the end of the season. Leeds, however, I think could be a well-targeted side that could dismantle this unbeaten side. They are currently the unbeaten side in the Championship, Sheffield United. But Leeds have shown me in their recent games that they are going to be so competitive going forward. Their attack, I think, is certainly going to be one of the better ones in the Championship, with only 2 sides scoring more goals than Leeds at this point of the season. And with their last game before the international break, there's no doubt about it that Leeds should have beaten Sunderland in the position that they brought themselves. It was just a moment of madness for Inamenie, and ultimately I'm hoping Leeds take that moment and they really go and actually start being more ruthless. I think what's been missing from this Leeds side, from previous Leeds United sides that I've seen, is that ruthlessness in them, but Sheffield United could certainly neutralise that. So it does feel like a really interesting crunch match this, but with it being an international break, I do think momentum does take a hold, and I think with the positive momentum that Sheffield United had, I think that is going to really be heavily tested, and this is certainly not the game that they would have wanted to have immediately after an international break where a lot of players could be quite rusty. Prediction here, I don't think it's going to be a game that ends in a draw. I think we will see a team go out on top. I just think, personally, with the attacking power that Leeds have, and I think the fact that I feel that Sheffield United might be a little bit rusty after the international break, with the momentum not quite going with them this time, I think these might take this one. Prediction, I'm going 2-1, and this will be Sheffield United's first defeat of the season. But I think certainly what I saw against Sunderland for Leeds is that they are going to be competitive every single game they play, and I think that might give them the edge in this scenario here. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. So now we made it to the first 4 games that are going to be an early Saturday kickoff. So the first one is Cardiff Plymouth. This, I think, is a big game, but I think most importantly for Cardiff City, I did expect them to appoint a manager at this stage, but as of recording right now, they still have not appointed someone to replace Errol Ballou. Currently, we've got a caretaker going through their games at this moment in time. But what I will say with Cardiff, I think they have turned the slightest of corners based on their recent performances. They are finding the ball in the back of the net a little bit more frequently now. However, the points on the board are certainly not at their favour yet. They're still within the bottom 3. But they will be looking at Plymouth as potentially a good team that they could try and drag down. But Plymouth has certainly given themselves a bit of a projection from that bottom 3 because of their recent home form. Their away form, however, they've only scored 1 goal, but it's the same with Cardiff, with them only scoring 1 home goal. So right now, I don't see many goals in this game, and I think it will continue to be the same here. But as a prediction, I feel like this is going to be one of those games which I think it'll edge by 1 goal. And personally, I could see Cardiff scoring. And it might be one of those moments where Cardiff hold on and Plymouth rally forward and try and get something. But I think Cardiff are going to hold on. A crucial 1-0 victory. And that would actually give them a really good boost to try and get them out of bottom 3. Let me know what you think in the comments. Next up, guys, is the M3 derby. Luton versus Watford. This game always tends to be a pretty entertaining encounter each time that I've seen them play. And I do recall it being a little bit feisty at times, actually. So I'm hoping that we're going to see more sparks fly within this game. And certainly it's going to be 2 sides that will be desperate to try and get back into winning ways. So Luton, you can't lie, when you look at their position in the championship table, they have certainly not started the season well at all, especially compared to their other recently relegated sides who have settled in more or less a lot better than what Luton have done. And it really puts pressure on Rob Edwards because certainly I think some fans are losing a little bit of patience, but certainly with the expectations now being raised with them having parachute payments now, I think if he doesn't turn this form around for Luton, the board might not have any option but to try and reconsider a decision in a managerial position, which I really will think is a shame for Rob Edwards considering the profile managed to build up, and it was a bit of a fairy tale way because in a way he's facing against his former club. Would it be the most incredible thing though that if Watford do beat Luton and Watford is the club that's the reason why he loses that Luton job? I mean, that club will be completely cursed to Rob Edwards if that turns out to be the case. Although one thing I will say, which I do think will discourage these sorts of rash decisions being made, we will have a midweek set of games straight after this week. So I do think with the fast flow of championship football in this period, I think it is going to be a little bit less likely to see that, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility. Watford have certainly started their season a lot better. I think they had ended it with a little bit of an inconsistency within it. I think their away games especially, Watford have not picked up anywhere near the amount of points that they really should be picking compared to what they have done at home. Prediction here, honestly, the home teams are typically favoured in this game, but I might go for a draw. Something tells me that we could see a situation of Luton taking the lead, but I think Watford will have firepower to hit back. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I've not predicted a draw so far, so I'll nominate this game as my first draw. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now to an intriguing encounter, I think, Oxford versus West Brom. Oxford, certainly, what I've learned from predicting Oxford this season, you cannot write them off this season, especially at their home games. And certainly Oxford are in a bit of a tricky position. They've drawn their last 3 in a row, hence, they've got a bit of a winless run at the moment. But as I would repeat, they are always competing within those games, which is a delight to see, to be honest. West Brom, I think they certainly favoured the international break when it did appear. They did lose back-to-back games, and pretty disappointingly, also drew against Millwall as well. So that's 3 games in a row where they will win this, and West Brom were at the top of the championship before those 3 games did take place for them. And one thing that they have been struggling quite recently is actually not being clinical, which surprises me because they were clinical, but then suddenly they have one bad performance and then it's followed by a couple of other bad ones as well. So I'm a bit worried about West Brom's lack of bounce back ability. Whereas with Oxford, when they've, not really ultimately picked up many away points at all this season, they typically go at home and they really give a performance in. So I am a little bit more encouraged about Oxford's chances based on how well they've been at home. But as a prediction, with the options that West Brom have, that they could just produce a moment of magic out of nowhere, I do think they might do enough for a point. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if either one of them gets a result here. But let me know what you think in the comments. So the last of the early kickoffs is Preston versus Coventry. Both sides within the bottom half of the championship and both within a pretty dangerous position regarding their place in the championship so far, and really could be settled by any little, to be fair. So both are having pretty similar seasons, different-ish expectations. I think especially the expectations are raised with Coventry based on how brilliantly they've been in the championship and how consistent they've been in their previous 2 campaigns. But this season has certainly proven to be a little bit of a challenge for them. It's had fans voice their concerns maybe if the manager has done more than what he could have done now, whether the players are giving their all as well. So it is certainly an environment that's a little bit touch and go at the moment with the unity part of it. Though Coventry did pick up a win not too long ago against Blackburn, where they did look a lot better, but I do think their consistency is certainly not the same. And Preston are certainly picking up a stronger record in this head-to-head in recent games. One thing I will say with Preston, I think their defence has certainly taken an improvement since Paul Heckingbottom's come in. I think with their recent home games, I think they have picking up more consistent results at Deepdale, which is certainly going to help the fans bond with this team a little bit more and form more towards Heckingbottom, because I do think he didn't really start, all guns blazing when he joined as Preston manager, but I think he's slowly but surely starting to tinker his way to figure out how to get the best of that side. So as a prediction, I think still with Preston's really improving home performance, and I think with Coventry's inconsistency, I could see Preston winning this. Can't lie, I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to North End. Them having the stronger record, I'm going to back that as well. I think it will certainly be another difficult game for Coventry to take. I think certainly they're going to have to reassess, see how they can really start climbing up the table. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Finally made it to the 3 o'clock kickoffs, and let's talk about Blackburn versus Swansea City first. So Blackburn certainly would have appreciated the international break when it came round. They were doing really well with their consistency, but the wheels were starting to fall off a little bit with their performances and the fact that they were starting to accrue more defeats. They are now actually out of the top 6 based on how quickly their form collapsed actually in their last 3 games within that period before the international break hit. Swansea have certainly been a bit of a steady Eddie this season. They've certainly been a side that have actually kept a really good structure, a bit similar to Sheffield United. It looks pretty stable as it stands. One thing I will say, I think they are struggling to score a load of goals. I do think that's the one critique I've got with Swansea at the moment. But when they've lost their recent games, they've really lost only by 1 goal margin. I think the recent one against Sheffield United, for instance, they certainly frustrated that Sheffield United side. Sheffield United were only able to get 1 goal past them. And I think certainly here, I think this is going to be a very similar situation. I would be backing Swansea if they were at home because their home form has been really good so far this season. Their away form has been a lot more inconsistent. And Blackburn at home have been sensational. They've been brilliant at home, actually, Blackburn. So it's a toughie. A draw wouldn't surprise me. But I'm actually going to back a Blackburn 1-0 win and a rare clean sheet for Rovers as well. But I do think this game is going to be relatively low scoring. It's just a question of which team to back. And I think, based on the home form, I'm going to back Blackburn. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. So the next game to predict is Middlesbrough versus Bristol City. Certainly one thing I picked up in the international break is some things do matter more than football, and you probably already know where I'm going with this, but I have to talk about it. It's absolutely devastating news what has appeared at Bristol City, with Liam Manning stepping away temporarily at least following the death of his newborn son. I mean, that is devastating to even formulate a sentence. It's absolutely terrible for him. I can only wish Liam Manning and his family well. It's absolutely devastating. I know someone who has been struggling to have a kid for a long, long while, and honestly, just even having that kid, it changes their lives completely. And the fact that he's missed out on that, it's absolutely devastating. And I think the best thing for it is for him to appreciate his privacy so that he can just process what has happened. And ultimately, Bristol City is just going to have to try and fight without that figurehead regarding what they've got. And they will have to travel to Middlesbrough, which, as a game as a whole, I think it will be an intriguing one. Middlesbrough have certainly been a little bit more consistent for a majority of other sides because of their league position. Bristol City are winless. They've only picked up one win in their last 6 games, so their form hasn't been spectacularly up to this game, despite with what has happened in the international break regarding that club. So I do think still, regardless, whether the players could really rally for Bristol City and really give a performance through, it's hard to say because I really don't know how they're going to react. As a prediction, I think my safest bet, based on how good Middlesbrough have been at home, I might back them, to be honest. I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory to Middlesbrough, but this one, I really have no clue. It's really going to be quite difficult for that one. Once again, I can only just send my best wishes to Liam Manning and Bristol City with this currently tumultuous time at this club. So I'm going to predict 2-0 to Middlesbrough. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next up is Millwall going up against Derby County. This one, I think, is a very interesting game, actually. Derby are still yet to pick up a point on the road. Quite bizarrely, every other championship side has picked up at least 1 point on the road so far this season. Millwall at home have certainly been, on the whole, relatively good. The only defeat at home, if I can remember from recent performances, was against Luton Town, where actually, based on their performances, I think they should have earned at least a draw in that game, and Luton were doing quite well to hold on to that lead in the end. But certainly here, I think Derby have shown that they can compete at home. With their away games, they've actually had a really tough away run actually leading into this game. And I do think Millwall falls into that category that doesn't really fit the same level of difficulty of their other teams that they've had to face away from home. So this could be a chance for Derby to get their first point of the season. And quite honestly, I think based on the performances at the moment, there's very little to separate them. And as a prediction, therefore, I think I might compromise and go for a draw. I'm going to go for a 1-1er. I don't see a lot separating both of them, to be fair. And that'll be Derby's first away point of the season. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next up, for a really big game at the bottom of the championship, QPR versus Portsmouth. I think both of them would have appreciated a different background colour scheme, but ultimately they're just going to have to try and deal with it. But this is big, honestly. They are both, within the bottom 3 currently. Certainly QPR have had heftier expectations, so for them to be in that position is a little bit shocking on their part. I think it's been one of those things which the team just hasn't clicked, and they haven't had that same level of consistency that they have adopted in, previously in last year. Portsmouth, as we know, had a very difficult run in. They've now sort of edging that way out of it, but they had Stoke and Oxford recently. Lost 6-1 to Stoke, which was a bit of I don't know if it was a freak result or if it was just a result that just came out of nowhere, but it was a terrible result for Portsmouth fans. And then followed that up with a draw against Oxford, where they had left in that game as well. It's been quite disappointing for Portsmouth at the moment. They're desperate, I think, to get that first win of the season. But against the QPR side, which I do think there are some really good strong points with that QPR side. I think, again, likewise with so many clubs, there's so many individuals in that squad, but I think could flip the game with a bit of quality in their part. And as a prediction, I think on the firepower on both these sides, a little bit more confident with QPR. I'm going to back QPR for a 2-1 victory. I was really contemplating the draw here, but I think QPR with that home form, some of the individual talents that they got, I think it might push them to 3 points here. It'll be a crucial time to get 3 points as well. It'll mean 10 points from 10 games as well, which not an ideal point per game return. It puts their rate in the right direction. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next, I think it's going to be an interesting game. It's Sheffield Wednesday going up against Burnley. So Sheffield Wednesday have certainly shown encouraging signs with their recent performances, and I think have started to get more consistent performances and started to show that turnaround. Get that win against West Brom and to end it with that win against Coventry just before the international break, albeit really lastminute.com, is sensational. They've done brilliantly, actually, to get themselves into the position that they had done. And they're quite similarly with QPR, two teams underperforming, but those couple of wins for Sheffield Wednesday have now really pushed them back up the table again. And that's exactly what QPR needs. But going back to Sheffield Wednesday here, I could see them actually giving Burnley some trouble. So Burnley certainly do really well in terms of their position of the table, but their performances will tell you that they haven't really stood out in a way. You know, they've had a couple of high-scoring games in their favour with Luton and Cardiff at the start of the season, but then, of course, their team changed. And then since then, it has certainly not been an easy ride since. And have Burnley been a bit lucky? Maybe little bits of it, but at the same time, Scott Parker has had so much experience in the Championship. He knows how to get a result, even if their team not playing at their best. But here, I think it's going to be an interesting encounter. I think at Hillsborough, it's going to be an incredible challenge for Burnley. First prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think Burnley have got the star quality to at least get a point in this game. But I think Sheffield Wednesday are not going to make it easy. So therefore, I'll go for a settled draw. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Alright guys, so we're now on Stoke versus Norwich. I had to do a quick cut there because my cat just decided to arrive and interrupt my recording. So if you do hear him in the background, that will be why. But we're talking about the Alex Neil derby now, and personally, I am certainly more or less thinking of edging Norwich here based on their momentum at this moment of time. But I can't lie, I will acknowledge the fact that momentum will be stopped at this point, like I did mention with Leeds and Sheffield United. So it could be a case where Norwich actually might struggle in that first couple of games, you know, back from the international break. So it is certainly going to be one of those intriguing encounters. Stoke this season has been very unpredictable. I find it's been a nightmare to try and predict them, quite honestly. But things with Norwich, what we have been able to see for them is that they're scoring so many more goals now, which already gives them a much better chance of getting 3 points. It's really just down to whether they can defend, and I'm still a little bit yet to be convinced whether they can defend and keep clean sheets consistently. But certainly from what I've seen, they're going towards the right direction. They're scoring loads of goals, and they're proving to be a really entertaining side, Norwich. And as a prediction here, I think even with momentum being stopped, I do think star quality of their attacking line, I think, will trump Stoke. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 3-0 away victory to Norwich. So whilst that might sound a little bit dismissive to Stoke's chances, it's just for me, it's, you know, Stoke could upset Norwich. But quite honestly, it's been so unpredictable predicting Stoke, and unfortunately the most likely scenario is them falling short because of how good Norwich have been recently. So we're going to go 3-0. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. We made it to the final game finally, and it's Sunday's game of Hull going up against Sunderland, which I do think will be an intriguing encounter here. Hull have been picking up sort of consistent results with 3 wins and 3 losses in their last 6 games. One thing I will say, based on the average position of both sides, I am noticing the teams around Hull, or the lower half teams, Hull have been doing so much better, and they have struggled against the teams above them. So I was certainly hitting the middle ground at the moment, but they are kind of performing and actually they are positioned around in the middle ground currently. So I do think that accurately represents their season so far, and it does give them something to strive for to see if they can potentially breach that gap and to start to comfortably climb up into that top half, because I do think that is what they should be striving for based on the backing that they've got. Sunderland has certainly had a brilliant start to the season. Maybe was a bit fortunate to get a draw in their last game against Leeds, but having said that, it does feel like things are just going Sunderland's way at the moment. They've started really, really well. Well, nice run of games actually going into the next international break. So I think Sunderland could really use a great opportunity to really steam charge this top two race at this moment of time. If they can win majority of their coming games, which on paper they probably should, that really puts them in a really strong position here. So I am excited to see if Sunderland can keep on with this potential, or if they'll start to wither away, like we probably saw with Blackburn at some point when they were losing stamina. Here, I do think Sunderland are the favourites based on how they have performed and how adaptable they've been in their games. And I think with that adaptability, I think that is what I'm going to back them for in this game here. I think it'll be close though, and as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory to Sunderland. Whilst I do think Sunderland will win, I think Hull are going to make it really tough. I think Hull have certainly improved. I think Sunderland, based on the players that they got, the adaptability, I think that will just slightly give them the edge of this encounter. But let me know what you think in the comments. So that wraps it up, guys, for my score predictions. I'm so glad to be back and recording again. It is still exhausting doing this after work, of course, but I am certainly still enjoying sharing my views to you all the time. I am really hoping I can find a little bit more of an easier way to balance the work and YouTube life, because it's proving to be quite physically draining at the moment. But I am working on it, and I'm hoping, guys, that the performance of this video is going to still give me that encouragement, just to give me that energy. Also got a midweek game coming up as well, so you know, this channel certainly is not going to be dormant for 2 weeks this time. It's going to be smooth, like rolling. It's really going to produce all these predictions on these fast flowing games at this moment. So keep tuned, guys, because I do think we're going to see a lot more content on this channel. If you guys enjoyed the video today, please smash the like button. It really does help. Please do hit the subscribe button too, and please also share the channel too. All three of these things are free to do, and they really do help the growth of this channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the name of this video, and as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.